This is an example of Matlab grader for a GenPhys problem about angular velocity. So this is consider two similar robots, one robot with a wheel diameter of 7.9 centimeters and another with a wheel diameter of 4.9 centimeters. Both wheels are rotating at the same angular velocity. The robot with the smaller wheels is traveling at a speed of 33 centimeters per second. Write a script to determine the speed of the robot with the larger wheels. So this is an example of a script, and so what we need to do is we need to fill in these values. So in a script, we're not using a function; we're just writing in some information, and then the script will do the calculation for us. So the diameter of the small wheel, I can look up at what I have for the small wheel is the smaller one is 4.9 centimeters, and the larger one is 7.9 centimeters. And then what is the velocity? So this is the velocity, the speed of the small wheel. So we know that, and that is 33. And all the units here, we need to make sure the units are the same or convert units if we need to. Great. So the next thing we need to do is figure out what is the circumference of the small wheel. So the circumference of the small wheel is just going to be pi times the diameter. So in Matlab, you can just write pi and then times, and then the diameter of the small wheel, d sub s. I'm just copying from right up here. I'm using this d sub s, this variable. So pi times d sub s. And then what is the circumference of the large wheel? That's going to be the same. So here I'm going to say pi times d sub L for the large wheel. And then for omega, I would need to figure this out, right? So remember that that the velocity is equal to the circumference times omega. So I can figure out what omega is, and that's going to be Vs, the velocity of the small wheel, divided by the circumference of the small wheel. And then, and so the question is asking me to find the speed of the robot with the large wheels. So what I can do is I know the omega is the same. So what I can do is say, take omega times the circumference of the large wheel. And so that's what I have. And so to figure these things out, I would have a piece of paper and writing out my equations. I don't just know this off the top of my head. And in the beginning, you need to write in what your variable values are. So I take those right from the problem. And then starting with the circumference, this is where I had question marks that I was filling in. So I can say, run my pretest to see how I do. Right, and I've passed the pretest, great. And so now I can submit and see. So it says code ran without output. And I can see what happened. So this will tell me whether I was correct or not, and my solution passed, and my assessment passed. So I'm good to go. So that's just an example of a script in using Matlab Grader.